1.
Welcome to your Best Bet podcast. And if you're tuning in or you've been a long time listener here and you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, you're like, wait a minute here. That voice is familiar, but this is not the voice I'm used to. But don't fear. This is Johnny Strasser, the regular for the golf podcast. I do have Phil Miller here. Now we're changing up a little bit. Maybe this is a full-time thing, maybe not. We don't know. But without further ado, I do want to introduce Phil first before we go over what we're going to talk about here, because I did want to ask him something. Phil, first, welcome to your show. And I was trying to think about this. Would I rather watch a football team that has absolutely no chance to score a touchdown against a mediocre team, or would I want to watch a football team that can score touchdowns galore against a mediocre team, but has no chance to stop the other team from scoring a touchdown? Literally no chance. Which way do you go with that?
Yeah, I thought this may come up tonight. I was quite confident. By the way, thanks for having me on my show. I knew this would come up because I was actually thinking about this when my team, the Chicago Bears, played the Giants yesterday, and when Tyrod Taylor, the backup, got hurt, and the Giants just decided to play Saquon Barkley at quarterback for, 10 snaps, and they were still getting first downs regularly. I was like, what's more embarrassing than this? Like, they can't throw the football, and yet they're still getting first downs. But then I thought, well, I don't know. Is it more embarrassing to give up 48 points to Geno Smith? Is it? I don't know. Now, I can answer this question easily. If I'm going to be bad, I want to score a bunch of points and actually have it be entertaining, because being bad and not being able to move the ball is utterly fucking miserable.
Yeah. I mean, but as you said, I think the last time we had talked a couple of weeks ago that if you're bad in the NFL, just be terrible and move on. I think there's some expectations with the Lions, which is why it's kind of hard to take. But that was brutal. Red Zone didn't show much of it in the first half, and then it was just a bloodbath. That defense is beyond bad. But it's just completely opposite ways how the both teams lost, and it's a typical Monday for us. We just coming off a loss here. But anyways, we got some stuff we're going to get to this week here. We did not have a show last week, so 2 weeks ago was the President's Cup. We're going to talk about that. We've got the Sanderson Farm Championship that we had this last week in Jackson, Mississippi. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to preview the Shriners Children Open in Las Vegas, and there's probably going to be some live stuff at some point. Who knows? I mean, but
it's just like inevitable, right?
We'll just add that, if we can there. So President's Cup, that was a couple weeks ago. We if you listen to the show, we predicted that it was going to be a bloodbath. I mean, we thought that this would be a rout. And I mean, after the first 2 days, it was 8-2 in favor of the United States team. I mean, they had won 6-7 matches, and they tied 2, and only had lost the 1 match through the first 2 days. So at that point, 8-2, I mean, you're looking at this is over. It's not even going to be worth it there. And then right. Saturday was a definite changing point. I thought it was really, really interesting. They ended up on the weekend total, I think they ended up winning more points. I think it was 10.5 to 9.5 for Saturday and Sunday, which was quite impressive there. Just want to get your thoughts overall on what you thought of the event, from start to finish. Was there something that stood out? Just kind of getting what you think about it.
Yeah, I'm in the camp where I think the following things can be true. The President's Cup may never be very competitive, but it doesn't necessarily mean it can't be compelling. And it was compelling over the weekend. I even found it kind of compelling the first 2 days. Again, this was an event for the golf hardos, the golf sickos like ourselves. We knew going in that it could be a potential blowout. It was going to be a likely U.S. win. People like you and I were interested in at least watching from the standpoint of what are the U.S. pairings going to look like? Who's going to play well? Are there future pairings I can use for the Ryder Cup? How are the rookies going to look? How are the Max Homas going to look? So what the result, regardless, that was still interesting. And just for the moments, the Friday night moment with Max as the final group making that putt, you look for moments like that. Can guys still thrive under pressure moments like that, regardless of what the outcome is going to be? And it gave us all that, and then it gave us a little more, I guess, competition than we expected with the international team making a push Saturday afternoon, and really there was like one moment Sunday where you're like, well, if these three matches go the way in favor of the international team and these two flip, there's a scenario. Now, was it like a 3% chance according to Data Golf? Yeah, but it felt a little bit stronger than that. I felt it was a little bit stronger than that. But there was a lot of people with ideas of here's how it should change. It should become a mixed event with 6 men, 6 women, and I don't hate that idea, but I'm also in the camp that I don't think this needs to change. I think it is what it is. It's never going to be the Ryder Cup, but it doesn't mean it can't be a fun, compelling event in the off year where the Ryder Cup isn't played. I don't know. How did you see it any differently than that?
No, I think you made a lot of good points there. I was just hoping come the weekend that there would be some relevance, there'd be some reasons to watch the event. At first it really wasn't, and then I think I watched a lot of college football that Saturday, and then kind of kept my eye on the golf, kind of didn't, and then saw that there was a bunch of matches that they were starting to get up in, and they were making a run. So it was like, okay, and you're right, it really wasn't close, but it was closer than I think what everybody expected come Sunday, which was nice to see. And I mean, count me in for even the international team doing the rallies. I mean, Tom Kim went ape shit, after making a couple of those putts, and I thought that was awesome there. I mean, you had Siwoo Kim, I think, shushing the crowd against JT, and he got under his skin. I think that was it right there. That rattled Thomas a little bit right there. But yeah, I mean, it was good. I would like to see it change. I know you said you didn't, but for me, I would love to see it move to a where they had the women into the event there, just to change it up, because I mean, this is what, the 13th, 14th one that they've had, and they've halved one, they've lost one, and then they've won. The U.S. has won every other event there. But the hard part with the U.S. or with the international team, excuse me, is that they don't play much together. But also, I think that team has a lot of turnover. It's not like the United States team of the last several years where, you've got that core group of guys who are going to be here, every single time there. So I did like it. I thought it was pretty interesting. And I liked how Trevor Immelman, he kind of handled things. He was definitely a good captain, I thought. And I liked how gracious they were in defeat and everything like that. So I think it was a successful week, but it's just one of those things that it's just hard to really truly get up for, because you kind of get the idea that it's not going to change the result, each and every year there. But one thing I'm wondering though, going forward here, because I think this Rome Ryder Cup is going to be a lot more of a challenge, because we've said they just don't win on European soil there, is to get those pairings there. And was there any of the rookies or any of the newer guys, I guess not the top, the top 6 or 7 stalwarts that they've got, that you liked or you'd love to see on the Ryder Cup team next year?
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is Max, because of two things: how well he played, and just his pairability and chemistry building that he brings to that team. The team's not going to lack for talent. He's still probably the 9th or 10th guy. So yeah, it'd be great if Max can play well enough this following year to make sure he's on that team, whether it's by points or a pick. Cam Young didn't necessarily play great this last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago at the President's Cup. It's hard to get 12 guys to play their best golf the whole week, but it'll be interesting to see if he and of course Zalatoris, who qualified, missed the Cup because of an injury. But those two guys, I was looking at this, you just think like, Kisner and Horscher would be the two guys that you would think that are least likely to be on this team, the Ryder Cup team next year. You would think Zalatoris would be there, and then who knows? But it's likely there's probably one more guy that we're not thinking of, whether it's a new injury that comes up or a guy that plays his way off. The last Ryder Cup team from 2020 played last year in 2021. It seemed pretty set, and then Harris English got hurt, Dan Berger got hurt, and those guys just fell off, right? And then of course COVID, or not COVID, I'm sorry, I'm equating COVID with live with DJ Brooks and Bryson. So what I guess my point is, it looks like there's a set, I guess 10 or 11 guys, right? But something may come up where someone plays their way out of form, and someone we're not even expecting that's off the radar might play great and win 3 times. It's going to be fascinating to see what that's like. But yeah, I think the core set, we're talking about JT, Cantley, Xander, Spieth. Spieth was unbelievable at the President's Cup. Those guys are the heart and soul of the team. And 30 years next year since the last road win. I feel like they're going to get it done, but I also feel like it's not going to be easy.
No, I'm going to be nervous up until that point, and until that last putt and the 15 and a half points or whatever it is to secure is in there, because it's the the US on foreign soil there. But if they could keep the core group and they could have everybody healthy, who after all this live stuff is kind of cycled those guys out of the lineups and everything, the one thing I like, and I'm very, very impressed with these US guys, is just how business-like they are. I've talked about it before, and I'll echo it again. There's not ping pong in the team room. It's these guys have their business schedules. They got their social media stuff. They got their weightlifting. They've got the exercise. They've got the practice, and they're in there just to win an event or win a match. And as long as this core group stays, I'm pretty confident. But there is just that fact there, and I still cannot believe 30 years. It's just that I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna believe that until until they end up breaking this record there. So, but yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with Jordan Spieth winning all 5 matches. I mean, yeah, he had JT as his partner and everything, but to win that final one there. We had talked about Thomas as the leading point scorer, which very well could have. Unfortunately, he did lose his singles match, and I actually did bet that and didn't come away with that. But it was a good event. We'll see what happens. I think 2 years is in Montreal, so it'll probably be like Davis Love again against Mike Weir.
Mike Weir for sure. Yeah,
but it should be Weir in Canada. So, and then hopefully he'll.
I mean, I think Emilman should. I mean, he's earned his chance to have it again. I mean, I thought he was awesome. I mean, and he was, I obviously wanted the U.S. to win, but I was rooting for the international team to make it interesting at times. And he's pretty likable. There were some likable guys on that team. The back to the Spieth JT pairing. I mean, that seems set to the end of time. Remember when Reed got really mad when Spieth requested JT, and that looks like a pretty good call by those guys now, because they look pretty unbeatable. And I want to be clear, I watched a lot of those a lot of their team matches. Spieth was the better player. I mean, there was one match where he was carrying JT. It wasn't JT's best golf. I did agree with the choice to put him out in first in singles. That's always a logical choice for the U.S. team. I was impressed to see Woo Kim taking him down though, and really pulling out some shenanigans with the shushing and getting under JT's skin. And I didn't mind it. You either are a JT guy or you're not. We are, but I could see how he could totally rub anyone the wrong way, U.S. fans included, because he's kind of got his shtick. And it's one day you're not giving guys 2-footers, and then the next day you're bitching about it. You're making faces about not getting a 2.5-footer from Siwoo Kim. You can't really have it both ways, JT. Love you, but can't go both ways on it. What about the international team? Was there anyone that you were surprised with their performance, maybe other than Tom Kim, with how well they played?
I was really kind of impressed with Cam Davis. I think he should have played more with Adam Scott. I think Immelman, where he did struggle, especially with those first couple of days. He was just kind of throwing guys together and not going with what was really working. And they really played well that Saturday, and I think they should have kind of gone with that a little bit more. But he was one guy who I liked. I'm trying to think. Hideki was a pretty big disappointment. Even Adam Scott didn't play that good either. But
I didn't get why. I mean, it's easy to say, hindsight 2020, why Sebastian Munoz didn't play more. I mean, he's your ultimate microwave guy, and he might not have it, and you might lose, but he could shoot 63. I mean, we see it routinely, first round leader bets that we always talk about. So I kind of was surprised he didn't play. Maybe he played 3 sessions, so I thought maybe at least one more would have made sense. But I mean, they were so overmatched in talent. The fact that they made it as close as they did was super impressive.
Yeah, it was. It was. But we'll see what they, if how much the team changes going in 2 years. And I think that's going to be the big thing, because you're going to have to go against very similar American group, year after year after year. So, but hopefully this he can start something, because they've done the multiple years for the captains. Nick Price was several years. Ernie Els did it a few years in a row, or a few cups in a row. You got to get that kind of, consistency like that. But not bad though. I guess we will talk about Live for a second. I don't know what to talk about. I didn't even know they were playing this week.
Yeah, Bangkok, Bangkok events. They changed the team formats to match play. I don't really get it still. I think it's a good idea. Match plays, it's a nice curveball. Just no one cares. And then you're gonna have like Charles Howell and whatever the fuck team he plays for. I couldn't even tell you, playing against like Henny Duplessis and someone for the match. I don't even get it, but I guess my point is, good on them for trying different formats, different things, but there's just really no eyeballs on this thing. And we talked about it the last time. Speaking of eyeballs on it though, they're going to be paying Fox Sports 1. They will be paying Fox Sports 1 potentially to telecast golf in 2023.
Paying. I mean, networks pay hundreds of millions of dollars.
Billions of dollars, yes.
To broadcast professional sports. And all these options that Greg Norman had or said he had, they're going to end up paying money to have it on have it on cable there.
I just can't think that bodes well for the future of the tour, right? Like if you're shelling out millions, or I don't know how much it would be to Fox Sports, it just doesn't seem like that's a viable long-term solution to get your product out there.
It is not, but I think we've kind of established that this whole tour, this whole thing is not a long-term business decision. They're just trying to get more people watching the event and forgetting that it's the Saudi government that's running it. So at this point, they don't really care, but it is kind of weird that they're going to be doing that. That hasn't been finalized though. So it's still going to be on YouTube, supposedly, if it's
correct. Yeah,
okay.
that's still a rumor. It hasn't been finalized. That might be for the 2023 season. I think there's 2 or 3 events left this season. I know they end in Doral for the. I don't know if it's called the Tour Championship.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
By the way, you were kind of alluding to it though, but again, this is successful sports washing. We're not really talking about all the bad shit right now. We're just talking about the problems with the product and the television and the weird format. So again, this is what sports washing does, and people forget about that. But we're focused on all the semantics of it. So this is successful so far.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and they're doing what they're doing, and I don't know, it's not money well spent, but it's accomplishing the goal that they set forth. So, until they decide to pull the plug and, because they don't like what's going on with it, then that's what we're going to, continue to see as long as they do it. But speaking of eyeballs again, with Bryce in there, did you see Sunday when Josh Allen went running off the field?
I did. That was good.
And they had the wire, and he kind of covered his eyes there. Bryson, the guy drives me nuts. Like, he did the long drive competition again. Unbelievably, did he finish second place? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, he did.
Second place, and this is a PGA Tour guy, a former PGA Tour guy, a professional golfer. These long drive guys aren't professional golfers. I mean, they're not. They're right. They can hit the ball far, but they're not any good. Right. This guy took second place, and he's at one point was one of the best golfers in the world and everything like that. And then he posts that really, really, really weird tweet. I don't even have the quote. I don't even want to read it, but it was basically, I'm not the guy who you think I am. Or
he's changed a lot the last year.
He's changed a lot. Yeah. I think he used that. I think he more used the long drive competition as like a platform just to get a little bit more attention to himself. And it seemed very just weird and half-hearted or created. Yeah. And it's just another on the long line of just cringeworthy things I think that he's done in his short golfing professional career.
Think about how far we've come with Bryson. March of last year, Bay Hill, when he was probably the most likable he's ever been.
Peak, that was the most fun to watch.
Right. At that point. It was kind of like, oh, he's, the 6th hole at Bay Hill, back-to-back days, trying to hit driver on the green, near the green, whatever, on a par 5. I mean, it was kind of like, oh, we're really doing this. At least, he's going for it. I respect that. And even last fall at the Ryder Cup, like, he was fun to root for. Like, he was fucking going for it. He was trying to drive the first green. He did in singles on Sunday, and it was awesome. And it's just been like this slippery slope downhill. Obviously, the live defection, all the injuries, and really just becoming a shell of the player he could have been. It is kind of unfortunate because, like, the talent level he had was there, the ambition was there. He probably got in his own way a lot, but there's no doubt in my mind he could have been on a path to win another major. 3, 4, who knows? But like, he was, after he won the 2020 U.S. Open at Winged Foot, I thought, well, he has a formula, and really, there was a case that he could have easily won the 2021 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. I mean, he self-destructed on the back 9, but he was leading the tournament going into the last 9 holes in the tournament before he kind of fell apart. But he was, in my mind, I'm like, he's got this U.S. Open formula figured out. I'm going to bomb it. And if I hit in the rough, I don't care, because I'm going to be the best player out of the rough. And as long as I have a good putting week, I'm going to be right there. So it's unfortunate we're down this path of he's doing long drive contest and live. And I don't know what his major performance is going to be like in the future.
Yeah, 5 years, he'll be completely irrelevant, which sucks, because he'll only be in his early 30s, and I'm sure these guys aren't going to be allowed back on the PGA Tour ever. So once the Saudis decide that they're done with the golf part of it, and that dissolves, he's going to be, like I said,
Yeah.
he's going to be irrelevant. Had a whole career of potential, lots of success, because I think his ceiling was quite high in the professional golf ranks, and it's done. It's over.
Liv got the villains, right? They got the
Mhm.
villains. The PJ Tour, we can talk about all the guys and all the guys that stayed. There's not really a villain. We don't talk about JT, Spieth, Rory as villains, but Bryson was, Pat Reed was, Brooks became that. Poulter really wasn't, but American fans kind of hated him for his Ryder Cup success. So it's kind of unfortunate because they took all the villains, and now we got, someone's going to emerge maybe, to fill that role. But it's unfortunate you don't have that guy on Sunday. Like, fuck Patrick Reed, I'm not rooting for him.
Yep.
Anybody
Yeah.
but him, right? So it'd be interesting to see how that goes for the tour.
Yeah, it will. But well, moving on though, we had a stroke play tournament. It was the second or third tournament of the year of the 2022-2023 wraparound season, the Sanderson Farm Championship in Jackson, Mississippi, where they give a big chicken as a trophy, which is pretty great there. Mackenzie Hughes with his second career win at 31 years old, second career wins in a playoff on the second hole with a birdie at I believe they were 17 under par for the tournament there. Pretty big deal. I did read that he was a little bit ticked off or challenged, I should say, or motivated, whatever it is, by not being picked by Trevor Immelman there for the international team there, and played some good golf there. But I was reading, I didn't watch much of the tournament, but I did read some stats there. I think I got a note here saying on the last 7 holes, he made 4 par putts outside of like 6 feet or something like that. It ranged from 6 feet to whatever to kind of save his round there, which was, I think for the longest time, it was looking like Sepp Straka was going to win that. He didn't go in as the leader going into the final day. It was Hubbard and I can't remember who the other guy was in that final pairing there, or was Straka, maybe was in the final pairing there, but it looked like it was going to be Straka, and then Hughes kind of hung in there and battled. But you've always been really high on 2 of the Canadians, Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes.
Yeah.
I think they're both really, really good players, and I think it's kind of cool. I've always liked Mac a lot. He's had some good finishes. Like I said, second career win, and the first win, it came after only 5 PGA Tour events. So he's had a little while here since his last win there. But overall, what's your thoughts on Hughes and the win there?
Yeah, 6 years between wins, 2016 RSM. That's pretty incredible. I for some reason I didn't realize it was that long, and it makes me think of we on this show for a while we talk about the stars, we talk about the superstars quite a bit, and guys with multiple wins per year, all this stuff, and then you got a guy like Mac Hughes who really fits the profile of your typical PGA Tour player. 1 win, and then 6 years later he wins again. In between that, I can think of a handful of times he's in contention. I remember betting him last fall at the RSM when I was going for my personal 3 wins in a row with the Hovland, Kokrak, Hughes trio, and he finished second. But I remember, but again, my point is there's maybe 2 times a year he's in contention to win, maybe. And I was thinking about this today, like a guy like Scotty Scheffler this year, or regularly Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, like how many times do they have a legitimate chance to win on the back 9 in a season? Is it 8, 9, 10? Like Scheffler this year, we know he won 4 times. I know he finished runner-up to Sam Burns at Colonial. He was in the mix at the U.S. Open. He should have won the Tour Championship. That's 7. There's probably 1 or 2 more that he was somewhere. Well, the Houston Open in the fall, right before he ever won, he should have won. So, if you think about it, the stars, they might have 8 to 10 times a year where they have a legitimate chance to win the back nine. And a guy like Mac Hughes, he probably has like 1 or 2 a year. So he's got to fucking take it, right? So good on him for finally getting it done. I just think of him as just a really consistent player, a guy that makes a lot of cuts. Maybe doesn't have the highest ceiling, but a decent floor, ridiculously good putter. Notoriously, the last, I think, 2 years has really been working on his speed. Another one of these guys has been working on speed training. During the telecast Sunday, they're talking about his fitness, working on his fitness to get stronger, speed. He's working on trying to get regularly 180 ball speed. So he's really trying to get longer. He understands that, and combined with his putting, I think he's a really good player, and he's kept his card for a while. He's been relevant for a while. I was a little surprised he wasn't on the President's Cup team. Big weekend for President's Cup snubs. Hughes and then Ryan Fox winning the Dunhill. But yeah, I was happy for him. I think we both like him as a player, respect his game. So good on him. Go Canada.
Yeah, he has really understood how you have consistent success on the PGA Tour is to hit it long and to be a good putter. And a lot of the really good players, that's what they do, is they putt the ball good and they hit it a mile, and they kind of figure out how to get it to the green there in between there. And I think he was a pretty average hitter, back in his mid-20s, and like you said, he had worked on the fitness part of it, worked on getting the ball speed up, because that's just what everybody's going to do these days, and it worked out there. So, but yeah, I mean, I read some interviews that he had talked to his caddy and never really got flustered, had some bad breaks where he hit the ball in some bunkers, and he had a couple that he had hit into the tall weedy grass, but didn't get discouraged on it and just kind of plodded along and just hope that Straka wasn't going to end up running away with it. And that's what he did. And I mean, he even got up and down from like 100 feet or something like that from over the green on 18 to tie. And then that first playoff hole, he hit it short in the bunker, blast out, hit a great bunker shot to 5 feet. And, 5 feet to extend the tournament there is no joke, and made that, and then made an under 10 footers, 8 to 10 footers, something like that for birdie on the playoff hole. So he really was in control of his game and his emotions when it's not the easiest to be on a Sunday of a tournament there. Like I talked about after the city championship, which is not even on the same scale or anything like that, but I felt nervous, something like that. I couldn't get my emotions and my feelings, my nerves and muscles under control there. And he was able to do that. And probably those 1 or 2 times that he had gotten in contention per year in the last 6 years since his last win, he'd always struggle with that. So, good for him for getting that win. He's a guy who I thought would win, a few times throughout his career. So gets the second one there, and pretty good there. Any other one guy who I thought actually had a chance this week was Emiliano Grillo.
Don't. I don't think you know how tragic of a story it is, because I was waiting to tell it.
Good. Oh, no. I was actually going to ask you, because I didn't know about what happened on the par 5 there. So the floor is yours. I seriously have no idea.
Well, I mean, we talked about Saturday night, who we had. You had a stake in Scott Stallings, who weirdly flamed out Sunday, and I had a stake in Grillo, who was T5. I didn't really have a huge thought that he could make a run, but there he did. He was 4 under on the front 9, got himself into contention. It was 3 under on the front 9, but then he made like a 60-foot bomb on 10, birdied the par 5 11th, and he's tied for the lead. And he's ahead of that, the last couple of groups. So I knew he was going to have to make a couple more. He hits it to 5 feet on 12, and it's my fault for tragically picking the guys that can't putt, that constantly hit it close. over and over and over, and just crucially missed 5-footers on the final day. But he missed the 5-footer on 12 to take the lead outright. I think he parred 13, the par
13.
3. Yeah. And then he goes to the par 4 or the par 5 14th. And I'm like, okay, 14 is a par 5, 15 is a short 4. We go birdie, birdie. We'll get to 17 under. Maybe if we just stay at 17, that's a playoff, which it would have been. I know he hit the drive in the rough. He had to lay up, and he was still in the rough. I think he had like 72 yards. And I did see this on the broadcast. The Bermuda rough at that golf course is really thick. It was really tough. I actually enjoyed the golf tournament. What I saw on Sunday, I had my computer up while I was watching football. I was impressed. It was kind of fun, actually. But the rough around the greens was really kind of unpredictable. And he got in a spot where from his third, it was kind of fluffy, put it into the greenside bunker. It was under the lip, buried. So hit that out, went over the green, and then his fifth shot, I think he just fluffed it or bladed. I can't remember, but anyways, he had to make an 8-footer for 8. Long story short, and that was the end of Grillo. And this is gonna lead me into my question was, of course, I had him at plus 4,000, and it was gonna be a nice little payday, but I didn't really think it was going to happen, but then they gave you false hope, right? And you're like,
Oh yeah.
Oh, what? Wait, he's so good. Nobody hit the ball better this week than him. But is there a guy that you bet regularly that has let you down? Or that, I guess, which guy that is that has let you down the most? Because for me, it is easily Grillo, and I always go back and foreshadowing. I'll be on him again this week.
Wow, for a while, I mean, I never made it as a best bet. For a while, it was Russ Henley, and then finally, I was like, I'm done with him.
Right. He's really good at that. He is really good at breaking hearts. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really have anybody that deep in the odds that I consistently bet. Hideki is the one near the top, though, that I'll usually it's Thursday morning when I wake up. I'm like, you know what? I think today's the day that I'm going to bet Hideki to win, forgetting that he has wrist and back issues or something like that. But he's been a guy, and now he's paid off. I've bet him to win a couple of times, but it seems like there's always, I think everybody listening to this thing has a team or if they bet golf, there's a golfer, that they usually bet. So that always seems to disappoint them. And Grillo is one of them, just because of that. His putter can be just the absolute worst.
It can be. It really, his putting was okay this week, and that's why he was in contention. He finally putted good on Sunday. It was around the green. I think he lost 2 or 3 around the green Sunday, obviously with what happened on 14. But I will be on him again this week. He's been playing great. This middle of summer until now, I think he's had 2 runners up and now a 5th this week. So he's such a good player. I mean, he is such a good iron player. I mean, I would say top 20 iron player in tour. And I mean, that might be conservative, really.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Sepp. This guy is just fascinating to me because this is like the 3rd time this year where he just fucking shows up. He wins one of them, and he nearly won the St. Jude against Zalatoris, and then I'm like, he's gonna win again. He's like 24th in the world. Like, what are we doing here? Sepp Straka?
I think I don't know. He went through such a bad stretch though after he won a Honda. I mean, it was as bad as can be. Yeah. I mean, he was
the worst player on tour.
We were looking at his odds, and he was, I mean,
like 250 to 1.
Yeah. It was bad. Like you almost didn't even think he was on tour anymore. He was that bad. But he's starting to play some decent golf, and maybe that's gonna carry over from when he should have won that playoff event, and then here, I mean, he played really good golf. So he's a good player. I mean, drives it well, and when he's putting it well, I think he's gonna make that Ryder Cup team. as long as he doesn't fall off
Yeah.
the face of the earth this next year. Now, this is when the points get a little bit bigger and everything. But with some of those Euro guys, that aren't going to be on the team there, he's going to be one of those ones that's probably the 12th guy on the team. And good Sep is pretty good. The problem is you get bad Sep a whole lot of the time.
But this is his fourth top three since he won in, I guess, the Honda in February. Four times in the top three. That's a pretty high ceiling. Now he's the opposite of Mac Hughes, like high ceiling, extremely low floor. But maybe that's what you want, more volatility. I mean, probably long term, Sepp Straka is going to have more wins because of that than Hughes, who's the more just kind of balanced, consistent player, I would think. Wouldn't you think that'd bear out that way?
Yeah, because I mean, we follow Pat Mayo on Twitter, and he's on Siwoo Kim a lot of the time, but he's like, you just got to ride the Siwoo train. You're going to get the highs, you're going to get the lows, and maybe Sepp Straka is becoming another one of those guys that, if he jumps down to 100-to-1 odds, you throw a couple bucks on him or whatever, a percentage of a bet, and then you take that chance that he could end up winning it. But you just got to be okay with him being terrible.
Well, I wonder. I heard Scott Stallings talking about this on one of the No Laying Up podcasts he was on, about he decided going into this year, the start of the I guess start of last season now, the 21-22 season, that he was gonna really focus on just playing more aggressive, and he would understand that he missed more cuts, but when he was on his peak weeks, he was gonna have more chances to win, and it kind of turned out that way for him. He had a great season, and we know he pushed it, kind of turned on late in the FedEx Cup playoffs. I wonder if that's a bit of a turn from what's been on tour the last 10, 15, 20 years, the Charles Howells of the world, where they don't win, they make a lot of money, but they don't ever win, versus, I'm gonna play aggressive as hell, and I might miss two cuts in a row, but that third week, when those iron shots are on, I'm gonna finish in the top 10 and make a bunch of money. Might be a departure of thinking than we've had the previous 20 years on tour. I don't know.
We are seeing the results. This is the Tiger generation, the kids who grew up when he first made it on tour. Tiger was that same aggressive way. He was going to win the golf tournament. Now, Tiger was so freakishly good that he just contended every single week,
right,
and literally never missed the cut.
Right.
But yeah, these guys, they make a lot of money with endorsements. They make a lot of money finishing high at PGA Tour events because the purses are higher and everything like that. So, I think you're seeing this new brand that has that same type of win first rather than high finish. And you're right, is they want to raise that ceiling of expectations and of maxed out on how they can play. Now that does that makes it a lower floor. So yeah, you're going to miss the cut, but if you miss 3 more cuts in the season, but you have 2 or 3 more top 10s, or top 5s or whatever it is, the payout on these events is so incredibly high that it's like it's worth it. Plus, I mean, the glory of winning these events. So that's a good point there, and that's a great point by Scott Stallings to say that, because I think to win these events now on the PGA Tour is so hard, because these guys are so good, and the good ones, or the great golfers, are so great that you have got to be your absolute best. And we used to talk about like guys who couldn't win a major. Now it's, if you're not good enough, I mean, you can't win a PGA Tour event if you're not at your best, week in, week out. So interesting thought there. That's I think I've noticed that more, because I've seen more guys, now that we bet and we want to see if they make the cut. So Fridays, you're usually looking who missed and who made the cut, and you're like, oh, this guy should have made the cut easily. Well, they're probably working towards that, getting that peak level of performance, because they want to win the golf tournament. They're not looking to finish 25th place. So
exactly.
Interesting there. Nothing. I don't have anything to add other than Dean Burmeister, who is a very interesting addition there. I think he got his PGA Tour card. This guy in the DP World Tour would dominate the South African events. He is South African, but they always make it's December, January, something like that. They make a stop at several events there, and I can always remember watching the Euro Tour events, and him being top 5 like every single time. And I think I actually top 10 bet him a couple times at random on those events and cashed out just about every single time. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anything you got from Sanderson before we move on?
Taylor Montgomery, another top 10. He's seems to be kind of a machine right now. He, one of the Corn Ferry grads, great player last season on that tour, 2 top 10s to start this year. I guess it bears to be seen if he can win or if he's just going to finish well week to week. But worth following him. Disappointment in Davis Riley, first round leader. I was pretty high on him. I know you were as well. Kind of flamed out over weekends. Really poor driving by him, which is odd because his golf swing is amazing and he's a great ball striker. He is in the field this week again, but I don't know if I feel great about going back to him with him really struggling with the driver. Other than that, I really don't have anything. I know Sam Burns was in the field this week, and I'm sure he was exhausted after the President's Cup. T30th there. That's it. That's all I have from the Rooster tournament.
All right. Vegas.
Yeah. Vegas.
This is one of my. I like this off-season event. This is probably my favorite of the quote unquote silly season. Or something.
I was going to ask you if you had a favorite of the fall season.
This one.
Okay.
This is it. It was the Shark Shootout, but ever since it took like Norm out of it, no, I'm just kidding. Okay.
That's funny. That's funny.
Shriners Children Open. Played at TPC Summerlin just outside of Las Vegas. I have been lucky to have played this golf course probably a dozen times. Good friend of mine, Rich Morgan, one of the best dudes out there, was an assistant pro out there for a number of years. So we, wife and I, we would fly out there and we'd rent a car. We'd stay with them at their house, and he'd get me on there a couple times usually. Met Bob May out there one time.
I forgot that. That's right.
Yeah.
Vegas guy.
May,
yeah,
Vegas guy. Yeah, a couple other guys, who were kind of journeymen and everything like that. But TPC Summerlin golf course it's like a Parkland style. It's 7,200 yards, par 71. It's at elevation. So you gain about 10 or 15%. And I can confirm that the elevation does make a difference there because I felt pretty good about myself when I played it. But typically Vegas golf courses are hilly with a lot of rock outcroppings and views of the strip from wherever you play because Vegas is in a valley. This one is not. It's got a lot more grass. Now it does have the desert area. So it is pretty cool to watch because you got the green grass, you got the brown desert there, but not that much of it comes into play. They redid the Fairways and Greens this spring, or actually it was this summer because it got so hot out there that it killed the grass. So they've redone it. Greens usually roll at like an 11.5 to 12.5 on the stimp. They said this week they're going to be a little bit slower just because they can't cut them and roll them that short. So they're going to be rolling at about an 11, but they've always rolled pure before. I have no doubt that they'll be the same there. Golf course, you don't have to hit it that long, but you just have to make a billion birdies. If the wind's not blowing, usually somewhere in the 20 unders wins it. So you're going to have to make 25, 26 birdies in 72 holes. So I like guys that make a lot of birdies, that can get the ball in play. And it's just going to end up kind of being a putting contest. Who's going to make a lot of putts there. Last year, defending champion Sanjay M won it. He ended up winning going away, won by 4 shots.
That's right.
At 21 under par, hit 62 of 72 greens that week, which is pretty good, I think. That gives you a lot of birdie putts there. So what are some facets of the game that you'll be looking at, or what kind of player are you looking for to have success here?
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. Scoring, I remember the one year Cantley got his first win. It was like insanely windy. I think 2017. I think it was like 9 or 10 under he won it, but that's an anomaly. It's usually 20 plus. Um, yeah, I don't really have much to add other than I'm looking at guys that are excelling with their irons from 125 to 175 specifically on those approach shots. And like you said it well, and John Rahm has said it well in the past. I think it's going to be a fucking putting contest week.
Fucking putting contest.
Or piece of shit's fucking putting
Piece
contest
of
week.
shit.
To be clear, to quote John Rahm back in back Palm Springs in January. So yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at guys that have had good form so far in the fall, either at Fortnite or Sanderson last week. So I prefer the guys that have played a little bit. I know maybe Sanjay didn't play last week, but he played the President's Cup a couple weeks ago. Same with Cantley. So I mean, of course, you would think that those guys are going to play great this week, but I'll be looking farther down the board. But yeah, basically birdie makers. Maybe I bent grass greens, right? So guys that if you wanted to go deep into the stats, look at guys that might be have bent grass as their best putting surface, but I don't expect any hardos to be looking at those kind of stats like we are.
No, and no, it's not usually windy this time as it is in the springtime. So this is usually you and I went to Las Vegas
Yeah.
and played one of the golf courses. We did catch a windy day.
Oh my God.
It
Yeah.
was ridiculous. It was blowing
That's
sides. We
right.
did not play this golf course. We played another really nice one in that area there. But yeah, if it's calm, we should see a whole bunch of birdies and it should be a good time there. So looking at the odds, and as always, check your books and find the best number, because these numbers here are a little bit surprising. DraftKings is usually real tough at the top of the board there, but looking at the board, we got Pat Cantlay at 6-1 right now. Sanjay, defending champion, at 9-1, and I know you can get him at a better number because I did look. Max Homa, 14-1. Aaron Wise, 18-1. Tom Kim, who we talked about, at 22-1. So those five guys, is there a number that or a guy that you like at that number that jumps out at you?
Yeah, none of them actually. Tom Kim was at 35 this morning on DraftKings when it opened. I think if you got Tom Kim at 35, I think it's a viable number on him as it stands right now. And I haven't looked at all the odds on all the other books. I wouldn't take Tom Kim under 30-1. I love Aaron Wise. I think you like Aaron Wise. I can't bet Aaron Wise at 18-1 to win a golf tournament with some pretty good players around him. So I think this whole range is a pass for me. And we mentioned Cantlay and him. Obviously, Homa has that great form. Again, it's like I always think of this like law of averages. Like Homa can't keep up that pace of winning. It's an as much as we love him, it's an unsustainable pace that he's been on since the start of 2021. I mean, he's won 10% of his golf tournaments. That's in like the Rory, DJ, JT range, and I just don't think he's that type of that. He's not in that class of player. I just want to be clear, but I just don't think he can keep up the pace. So I can't take Max at 14-1.
No, I agree with you there. I don't like any of these numbers here. I don't mind some of the players. Like I wrote some names down without looking at the odds just to see of just guys I liked this week. And I do like Aaron Wise this week quite a bit of all the guys in that group. So for him, I'll probably be looking at something if I can get him in a good matchup. Is to win the one-on-one tournament, full tournament matchup. But 18-1 is just ridiculous. It's just absolutely, like, it had to have been almost a misprint. And I bet you could find him closer to 25-1 on another book at worst,
Right.
if not more than that.
Now, I do want to be clear. I think Aaron Wise has a chance at the Ryder Cup team next year. I think he's one of those guys. I think his ball striking is elite, and The putter got a lot better last year. He had some really nice events. Now I think he's just got to kind of play a little bit more consistent and find a win or two. But I think he can be right there as far, at least in consideration for a pick.
He reminds me a lot of what Harris English did, of what Aaron Wise could do. Is English was basically off the tour. He started out okay, and then pretty much almost lost his card. Ended up getting lucky and getting into the Tournament of Champions with the COVID year. Won that, and then won some other times there and just got hot. And you're right, Wise's putting has consistently gotten better. He's using the same putter, and that can only, generally, if he feels comfortable with it, he could definitely do some stuff. So yeah, I like him the most out of that. I just don't like that number. I just don't feel comfortable enough anywhere close to it, really. But I do think he's going to have a good week here, and he's had some success at this event. He's a West Coast guy, went to Oregon, so
what if you could get him at 31?
I'd bet him then.
That's what he is on FanDuel right now.
FanDuel, okay. Yeah. After we get done with this, I'll probably bet on FanDuel just before that number shrinks. So that's what I was thinking. 25 wouldn't be enough, but 31 there. So moving down the board here, starting at 35-1, Taylor Montgomery, who we talked about, Cam Davis, who we said was pretty impressive in the President's Cup there. Brian Harmon at 40-1, Davis Riley at 50, Pendrith, Bezadenhout, Keith Mitchell, Alex Noren, Adam Hadwin, Mito, and Emiliano Grillo at 50-1. There's got to be a couple names there and a couple values that you like, right?
Yeah, I mentioned Grillo. I will take another swing at him, and it's inevitable probably what will happen, but I'm a sucker. I do like Cam Davis. That's probably where I would start in this range, or actually, if I do bet Wise, it would probably be at 31, but if I pass on him, it'll start at Cam Davis at 4,000. We know he got the one win last year at the Rocket Mortgage up in Detroit. I just think he's become a really nice player. Bent grass greens, I saw, kind of look at the stats today, are usually his best surface. He's able to keep up in a birdie fest, which this probably will be. He lights up the par fives. He is very long off the tee, should have a ton of wedge opportunities. And I think he's kind of feeling himself after the President's Cup. So I'm all on Cam Davis this week.
Cam Davis, I think, is going to be a great pick. I think he's going to play well. I did actually bet Grillo today. I was ready for the pain. So I saw him at 50. Good. It's like 50-1. I feel okay with that. I can throw a little bit on him.
It seems like a really nice number, right? With how well he's been playing.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, he was the best ball striker this last week. So, you just gotta run into a good putting week, and he may never do that, but we're gonna hope it's gonna be this week. So I didn't invest too much in him. So it's one of those ones that's like, but some decent names here. I don't like the win bet on Adam Hadwin, but the guy has finished top 5, I think, a couple times in the last few years here at this event. So Adam Hadwin likes the golf course. Form isn't the best, but something in probably a top 20 bet, I think you could probably get on like a plus 200, something like that, just for some plus money there. Maybe a top 10 for him. I like that. Again, a name I like, but I don't like the number, is Brian Harmon. I think this is a good golf course for him. And I think, I don't know how much history he's got at this place, but, he's a good putter, good length isn't an overly big thing with this place. So, I'm gonna bet him probably a top 10. He's looking at plus 350. So I expect him to play well, and there's some good numbers out there. But moving down the list here at 5,500 and more, we've got Tom Hoagie, Siwoo, Thomas Dietrich, who played well last week, Seamus Power, Putnam, Ricky Fowler has entered the under 100-1 chat here. Danny McCarthy, Taylor Moore at 6,500. KH Lee, JT Poston, Mav McNeely, my guy Dean Burmeister at 6,500 to 1. So other than Dean Burmeister, who do you like here?
Under 70 there.
Under
Stopping at
70.
Okay. Yeah. I Denny McCarthy, but probably not. I don't. I looked at his numbers, and he's not putting ridiculous. Then it's his ball striking usually has a lot to be desired, even though he had a lot of good flashes this year. So I'd be interested somewhat, but I'll probably end up passing. Yeah, Dietrich played really well for most of last weekend. Gosh, JT Poston at 65. I mean, he was really good last year, and I know he didn't play well last week, missed the cut, but I did see he got married the week before, and the Twitter rumors were pretty heavy that he went pretty hard at his bachelor party. So maybe we give him a pass for last week. A life happens sort of thing, and seems like a good bounce back and a winner from the summer. I think he had the runner up the week before that as well. So give me JT Poston just based on the value, I think.
Yeah, I was actually thinking Poston as well. I don't know. I actually bet him in a make the cut parlay on FanDuel, and I didn't hear about that. I was like, why did he play so poorly on Thursday? He did play much better on Friday, so maybe got a few more reps in, and hopefully got some practice in, and back to form there. But yeah, he's one of those guys who can absolutely go deep, makes a bunch of birdies, and he's not only good for a top finish or even a little bit on win bet. You could throw him first round lead if he's got a morning tee time and have him go out there and shoot 62 and see what happens there. So
fantastic putter. Yeah, the whole thing.
He's a guy like I really want. This is a Denny McCarthy golf course if there ever was one, but you're right. There's just I looked at how he'd been playing, and it just there's nothing there's nothing I want to that it makes me really want to bet him or anything like that.
Yeah.
So as my computer freezes, I'm going to go ahead and bring up on my phone here, and I'm just going to try to make some small talk here as we get this going here. So I do see here that we've got 7,000 or more. We got Matt Kuchar, who Zach would bet him already if he hasn't.
Absolutely.
So we got him at 7,500. Who we got here? Herbert, Kirk, Ryan Palmer, Gary Woodland, Nick Taylor, Nick Hardy, Matthew Neesmith, Mark Hubbard, who had the lead last week, Kurt Kitayama, and JJ Spawn. Any of those guys?
Yep. I made my first bet of the week this morning was Nick Hardy. I bet him last week. You on him as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude finished 5th last week. I mean, I was a little surprised he's this low, to be honest with you. He's really starting to find his game. In the kind of late summer, saw him flash at the U.S. Open. Really had some nice finishes on the Korn Ferry Tour. And last week, for a moment on Saturday, he was right there. And I guess the number that really mattered to me was first in approach last week. So best iron player, even over Grillo in the field at Sanderson. So 80 to 1, absolutely, all over Nick Hardy. Shocked some of these guys are ahead of him based on his recent play.
Yeah, I only picked the one guy out of that, and that was Nick Hardy. I mean, like you said, he played well last week, and I think he's just knocking on the door for a win. I'll have him probably on a win bet, but I might look at, plus 900 on a top 10 is so good. It's so good on the guy who played really, really good. So that's something I like there. So anybody else, I know I missed a couple plus 9,000s, but anybody in the 100 to 1 and lower that jumped out at you?
Are we past the Chris Goddard like that? Are we over that experiment until we see it?
I think we have to be.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, 100 to 1's not, or 130 to 1 isn't bad, but he's gotta have like a top 10, or he's gotta be in contention, don't you think, before you can look at him winning?
I would think so.
Yeah. The talent's there. It's just putting it all together and having a good week there.
Yeah. A couple names. Russell Knox, 130 to 1. I think he topped 25 to last week. 7th in approach last week. If you're talking about an iron game, he's there, but usually the putter will be bulky enough. So probably can't trust him to win a tournament. Plus 900 for a top 10. I like that. Grayson Sigg played really well last week as well. He's the guy that has won Korn Ferry events going really low. So he has it in him to go low, also 130 to 1. I'll probably come back. I'd have to look at it a little closer and see what the numbers are, but Brandon Wu at 150. Stanford kid, just seems like he's kind of on the edge of something with his game. So again, we're talking about the ceiling. I always talk about the ceiling with these players down here. And probably the last player would be Davis Thompson at 150.
Okay, that was one of my. I bet Davis Thompson last week,
right?
And both of Davis, Riley, and Thompson. I think Thompson. I love Riley, but Thompson I really like as well, and I see there's a lot of potential in that. And I think he's going to be a tour winner at some point. I'm just hoping it's going to be soon. Great number on him. I mean, I'd bet him to win it, and I'll probably throw a couple bucks on it. But like I always like the top 10s and top 20s. Him and Austin Eckroat.
Yep.
He's been playing pretty good this fall, and I can't remember what his recent form was, but he had a good finish. I think he played good at Fortnite, where he finished top 20 or top 25 or something like that. So those were the two there. We could very well see one of these guys jump up and win this event, because I mean, there legitimately could be 100 guys that could win, as opposed to some of these events in the winter and the spring, where you're looking at maybe 15 to 20. So there's some names there. I mean, you just look at dudes, and I'm not saying I'm going to bet these guys, but you just got guys like Robert Streb or Nate Lashley who battle to make the cut, and then they'll end up coming close there. But there's a couple names.
Listen, we're in the vicinity where Robert Streb's going to do some shit. It's it's when you least expect. You're like, is Robert Streb still alive? Did something happen to him? And then the next week he wins the golf tournament.
Yeah, I think he peaks at RSM, so we're getting pretty close to that time. So he's kind of, that game is trending upward there. But
yes,
but no, yeah. Maybe there might be some gold I might throw out there for a best bet here, but it's just weird looking at the field. And I know this happens week to week, but now that you get the Korn Ferry guys out there, some of these guys like I've never even heard of.
You do have to kind of retrain your brain. Some of these guys, like Harry Hall, is someone that is.
That's a good pick.
He's got something. Yeah, a 200 to 1 had some really nice success on the Korn Ferry. I don't know.
I think he finished top 20 at this last year.
Did he? Okay.
So he's got some course history.
But. Yeah. So the guys that we're talking about more, like the Taylor Montgomerys, the Nick Hardys, but there's a lot of guys down here that we're good on the Korn Ferry Tour that have the ability to flash. It's just trying to figure out when that's going to be, and what's the course fit for them. I don't know their games as well as like a Montgomery, but we'll get there. We will get there.
Yeah. So I'd say tread lightly with your bets. Obviously there's football going on all weekend long, so that's probably where most of the financial allocations are going. But it's always good that if you can invest a little bit in the golf in the off season. Hopefully we'll find somebody here. But anything else you got to add?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, we had our most success last fall from the entire season, and I know Fortnite didn't work out, so hopefully we can find a winner this week, and if not, a couple top 10s, top 20s. I like the fall. I actually kind of love it more than like the middle of summer. I don't know why. I kind of like a lot of these events. I like this event. I really like the Fortnite. I like RSM. So I like the Houston Open. I like that golf course they played in Houston. I like a lot of these events. I won't lie. I like the fall.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and hopefully we'll accompany some winners like we did last year. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, Phil, I appreciate you joining me on the show today.
You did great. You did well.
Thank you. Thank you. I finally I've been worried about this all day long, so it's good to get that off my shoulders here, and the first one as host in the books there. But Your Best Bet podcast, check us out. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're going to post some pics here on Wednesday. So everybody, best of luck on your bets here, and we'll catch you next time.